Machine.
Hi there, and welcome to Hot Pod Time Machine. I'm your host, Wee Claire. That's Claire Lim, and I'm here with Griffin Burns, my lovely guest for this episode. Hello, Griffin. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Claire. It's a pleasure to be here, and it was great meeting you just several weeks ago. Thanks for having
Yes,
me.
we only just met, and I hit it off with your entire family. I love them so
Oh,
much.
they adore you. So yeah, the feelings are mutual.
I was telling a friend about it. I was like, "Oh my God, this lovely guest at the convention I was doing loved his sister, loved his parents. They were so lovely. I think about them now and again, and I think, I wonder how they're doing. So
Oh,
send them
that's
my love.
that's cute. Yeah,
They're
yeah, they
so
really
nice.
enjoyed meeting you. Yeah,
Oh,
well, they thought the same. So I will
oh.
definitely tell them. I'm excited to tell them I'm doing this podcast with you.
Yes,
So.
yes. Now, this podcast is about a decision from our past that changed our future. So let's
Mhm.
just get straight into it. Tell me what you have decided to talk about.
I was going to talk about, there's so many decisions, right? But I was going to talk about, I used to identify as an athlete first and foremost for so long. And it was my junior year of college where I decided to lay that to rest. I was a Division I track and cross country guy, and I just at a certain point in college, I was done. I was ready to hang up my track cleats and turn my attention to other things like music and creative endeavors. And I really think that moment sort of changed my trajectory. You know, where I live, what I do, how I view myself, stuff like that.
Was there something that you brought from being into sports or being like an athlete that you brought into your acting, like a discipline or some kind of
Oh,
feeling?
absolutely. I I did a lot of I went on a lot of runs. I did a lot of practices. I had a very I developed a strong work ethic, and I think that no matter what you're doing, if you develop those skills, you can apply them to anything. You know, I recall like a workout I did in college that just seems absolutely insane to me nowadays. Like 6 by repeat mile with a minute of rest in between, and like those workouts were so insane. But I think now when I go out and do my auditions here in LA, or I'm working hard from home, whatever I'm doing, I think that discipline and that drive to get through it, it's helped me. I think I can I can endure a lot.
And you need a lot
So
of drive, I would say, to work in this business because it's
you have to always be going, which is good and bad. I've been fortunate to work a lot, and it's been a full-time career for quite some time. But there's always this little voice that tells you to never let up, because there's a lot of other people that want to do what you do, and you want to stay relevant and you want to keep working. So yeah, it's you feel like you're always brainstorming and figuring out what's next.
what kind of kid were you like at school? I ask this because when I was growing up, I used to watch a lot of American things. Saved by the
Mhm.
Bell, so good. I mean, I dress
Oh
like
yeah.
I'm a Saved by the Bell extra now. I love it so much. And I love Saved by the Bell. And when I was a kid in Scotland growing up, I would watch these American programs and they would have the
hmm
jocks and the nerds
hmm
and oh, and like the cheerleaders. Was it like that in an American school growing up? I need to know. And who were you and where did you fit?
Yeah, I mean it is like that in some respects. There are the athletes, there are the theater kids. I kind of saw myself as somebody who's floated between groups. I never strongly identified with one or the other. I I think I grew up I'm like a very sensitive type of person. Um, I was kind of I would say a little nerdy, a little geeky as a kid, and I grew into myself. I discovered my talents as an athlete, um, and also as a musician, and that I was creative, and so I sort of felt like athletic, but also really drawn to the arts, and um, I I don't know, I was in a band, and I hung out with my band friends, and then I associated somewhat with the track or the football team or whatever. So I don't know. I didn't really have like a permanent home. I was always pretty comfortable with different groups.
Was there like something you watched maybe growing up or even in your sort of young adulthood that was from the UK that you thought, oh, everyone in the UK must be like that? That's what they must be like. I'm wondering if there's an equivalent or a film or something.
Oh gosh, I don't feel like I was introduced to British shows until maybe later, maybe like college age or older. Um, I what show did I really enjoyed Doc Martin. You ever watch Doc Martin?
No, I never watched that.
I don't even know. I think it's a British show. I'm pretty sure it is. Um, I don't know if it. I actually did my study abroad in London too, so at that point, I kind of had a feel for what British people were like and what it was like there. So I don't think I had any like false or not false, but I don't think I had any prejudgments of British culture or people at an early age because I don't know if I was exposed to it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So,
Like, we were so exposed to it because America's such a big country and
well, yeah.
all the best, well, not always all the best, but like significant films and bands, especially American music. I loved specifically 90s alternative American music growing up, like Fugazi and stuff like that. And I was obsessed. I
Oh
loved
yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
loved DIY culture. And what about you? Like, what
Mhm.
kind of, you said music, you were a sensitive kid and you did the sports and things like that, but what kind of music
Yeah.
really got you going when you were young?
Uh, pretty typical stuff that people got into. I when I got my first Nirvana album, the Nevermind album, I was just blown away. I was playing the CD on my dad's like gateway computer with headphones on and just could sit and listen to the entire thing front to back, and I was blown away by these aggressive sounds and it's his voice, Kurt's voice, and so that was exciting. I really wanted to play guitar when I heard that. The Offspring, I remember I got their CD, the Americana, I think it was. Um, yeah, lots of alternative rock, like grunge. I liked Pearl Jam. I liked Stone Temple Pilots. I liked uh, yeah, groups that sounded like that. But then as I became an early teen, Blink 182, Green Day, Sum 41, a lot of these pop punk bands that I wanted to emulate. So we covered a lot of their music, those types of bands' music, and that was sort of my intro into guitar and playing in a band. We played a seventh grade talent show. We played all the small things at the talent show by Blink 182. So yeah.
But you said obviously you made the decision to, I mean, you're acting, but like, why not go down the music route? Was it maybe, did it seem harder? Was it different? Why not music? Or did you try and do both? Like, where was the split?
I always wanted to do music professionally. I think growing up in a small town in Pennsylvania on the East Coast, um, I was doing what I could do as a teen. I was playing carnivals and like random backyard parties and trying to figure out how people become successful with music. I didn't really know. Uh, and that was sort of that was pre Spotify. We had hard case CDs, and I I tried mailing them out to labels and things, and I just didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying whatever. Um, when I moved to Los Angeles after college, I did want to pursue music. That was a big reason for moving here. I started a band here. My sister actually was in it, who you've met, and we probably rehearsed for like 4 or 5 months or 6 months, but um, quickly I realized I needed to make a living, and I think some of the guys were getting tired of rehearsing without any shows on the books and things like that. So it kind of dissolved, and I started focusing on how I was going to make a living here and how I'd survive. So music really got put on the back burner for me for many years. And then once it became more established in voiceover, and especially in the last 5 to 7 years, I started a new band, and we've been pretty consistent. But um, music's tough. It's tough. There's no clear path. Like I'd say acting has a clearer path than music to
Oh,
me.
see, I felt maybe for me acting. I'm not an actor, but I can see now the path. But when I was younger, I was like, I would never know where to begin with that. Like I just, whereas music, I don't know, I had a little bit, I had such a little business brain when I was younger. So I was like, right, okay, so get good at this, do this, make friends here. Like I was so
Hmm.
kind of like focused and,
Yeah.
but I had such, not now, but I, back then I had terrible stage fright and I used to play guitar to the amp, not the audience,
Oh.
and my knees would knock. And
Oh, wow.
did you ever have stage fright? Just when I was younger, when I was really young, I was so self conscious because I was also a very sensitive kid. I'm still quite an introvert, but I was quite introverted.
Yeah.
But how did you ever experience stage fright? And if you did, how did you get over it?
Um, Not debilitating stage fright. No. Anything I'm passionate about or excited about, or, anytime I'm performing, I always get nervous. I feel like if I didn't get nervous, I wouldn't, I don't care. And I definitely care. So I'm always nervous prior to a performance. And same goes for when I was a kid. But it never made me get to a point where I didn't think I could actually perform. Um, so I guess that's good. I've had some auditions in LA where I was having an off day and holding a piece of paper or script or something in the audition, and my hands were shaking a little bit, and that's probably the extent of it. But yeah, I don't know. I
It's
guess.
I don't know, it's a weird thing now because I don't know what it was about the stage fright back then, or you know what, and sometimes it's still, now it's just sort of maybe before I go on to do stand up, or not so much when I'm interviewing people, maybe more stand up because it's more of me. Or and I had to play guitar on stage recently for the first time in 20 years. It was a song at the end of one of my stand up sets, and
Mm,
it's a joke song. It's a total joke, stupid song. Um, God, I was more nervous. I've stood in front of 5,000 people. That's the most, and thousands, like, but that in front of 100 people, or I was like, oh my God, I feel sick. Like, I don't
yeah.
know what it is about seeing the whites of people's eyes really close up. It's I don't know, like kind of like when I can't see make out faces, it's there, everybody doesn't matter. Not that that's terrible to
Right,
do, but
right.
do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? When you're standing on stage, you just kind of get into it. But when you see someone like this, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know if you've ever felt like
Y-
that.
Totally. Yeah, it can get you in your head. Even the most recent show I was telling you earlier about, my band played at the Westminster Mall, and it was a very intimate show because there was only like, a couple hundred people watching. We were on the ground floor. There's no stage. We're on the floor, and people are right in front of us. So, yeah, you lock eyes with somebody who's singing and like smiling or laughing, and you're your brain can sort of, you're like connecting with them for a moment. You're like, whoa, don't lose track of what you're doing. Don't forget the lyrics. you know, you want
Oh,
to give them, you want to be a good performer and be like acknowledging the room as you're playing and sort of like, you know, flowing with everyone. But if you lock in too tightly on anyone, it can be like, oh no, I'm going to lose control.
oh
So,
God, I don't know how. I've never played like a full set in front of people, but I did something in Chicago. It was like earlier in February, and I had like a very tight 5 minutes. It was just a 5 minute thing, and I don't. I practiced. I really rehearse. I'm really, really good at learning lines. So I look at it like I'm learning lines. But then when I know there'll be some improv on the night. But something
Yeah.
happened where I locked eyes with someone who was really laughing, and I was like, yeah. So I chatted to them for a bit, and then I went back to
Yeah.
what I was doing, and I was like, fuck. Like, but at least you can kind of, when you're talking, you can kind of talk around it. How do you get over?
Yeah.
Have you ever forgotten your words when you play? How do you get around that? Just go oh ah, wah, until you
Uh,
don't remember.
sometimes sometimes I have to look over at my bandmate and yeah, make an like almost put a filler lyric in and also look at him and give him a look like what was the lyric? And so we do a lot of dual harmony. So if I look at what he's saying or if I can, hear him, it gets me back on track. Uh, but fortunately, I knock on wood, I don't think I've ever had a time where like I had to dive out of the song completely, and couldn't finish it or didn't remember any of the lyrics. Like if anything, it's probably momentary, uh, a word or two.
I don't know. It feels
So
like,
I
I don't
don't
know if you
know.
feel the same, but when I always remember, I always come back to what I'm saying. But for some reason, like it feels like a million years. Like it's a millisecond. It's probably like me going but it feels like a
Sure.
million years, and I'm
Oh,
like,
totally. Yeah.
God.
We always think our mistakes are so much grander than they are. And actually sometimes when you make a mistake, it sort of humanizes the performance and people like it anyway, as long as you have fun with it. Like we did some little acoustic show in North Hollywood at a coffee shop, and I think my voice cracked or something, and I go, "Oh fuck," and everybody laughed. And then at the end of the show, everybody was like, "Dude, that last song, it was awesome." And then when you did that thing, and you were like, "Oh shit," or whatever, it was so funny, like it was so great. I was like, "Really?" Because that was really embarrassing to me. They're like, "No, no, it was great. It was very real and in the moment. It was fun."
It's funny what, like, I don't know what you're like with work, or if you're performing. I am so hard on myself, and my standards for myself are always like super high. Like I try and make everything, all of my output, I want it to be really good and really professional. But you're right. Sometimes when you're just a human in those
Mm.
situations, it's okay. I mean, I don't know, like if do you why do you think that is that people don't really mind? And are you quite hard on yourself as well
Oh
as
my
a
God.
human? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Horribly. I'm horrible to myself sometimes. Um, yeah, I'm my own worst enemy. Um, but on the flip side, it's that criticism and that attention to detail, though, that I believe makes us better and more successful, however you want to measure that. Um, but yeah, I am relentless. I'm always critiquing and to a point where it's sometimes unhealthy. So I know all about that.
Why do you think that people don't mind? Because we are the ones that
Oh,
mind.
yeah.
We are the ones that are
Be
overthinking, you know?
sure. Well, I think when you're going to see a show or a performance, um, I think I think we imagine ourselves on stage. I think we imagine ourselves when we're watching other people, and so when people maybe they're performing well or whatever, but then they make a mistake, it's a reminder that these people are just they are like you and me, and I don't know. It's a human experience. It's very it makes us feel maybe I don't know, like, hey, I can do that too, or like, hey, they're not too above me or whatever. I don't know. Like
Yeah,
it's just relatable. Just very relatable.
yeah.
Um,
I think that's whenever I'm speaking to people, regardless of how huge they are as celebrities or stars, or like I don't really think about that. I do just feel like at the end of the day, like we all eat and sleep and poop, and like that's like we're just, some people do a weird job and some people do other jobs, and
Yeah.
I quite like to just talk to people about, maybe it's boring for others, but I quite like to talk to people about very normal things, and people quite like to hear that. I know that when I'm doing, especially conventions, some of the people that have come up afterwards and said that was a great panel are the people, it's when I've just been talking about someone's dog, their daily
Hmm.
routine, or the fact that that
Yeah.
person experiences imposter syndrome, and things like that, like
Yeah.
stuff that
Yeah.
kind of binds us.
Yeah. I think that lends to what I was suggesting is that it makes people seem more accessible, and it's so relatable. Everybody has these feelings, and for anybody who is aspiring to be doing the thing that they're watching, it kind of shows them like, well, hey, I don't have to be 100% all the time to be doing that. Like you can still do a great job, but also make a mistake here and there, and it's going to be okay.
Exactly, we're human. But let's go back
Yeah.
to when you moved to LA, because you
Hmm.
made this decision to, yeah, maybe not go down the sport route, go down a more creative route. And you moved to LA. How old were you when you moved to LA, and what were your first thoughts in those months? Were you excited? Was it scary? What was it
Hmm.
like?
It was scary. I left right after I came out here right after college, so I was 22 going on, or no, I was 23, I guess. I think I just turned 23. Um, or about to. And I came here in June of 2010, and I had a place to stay at first because my sister used to live in LA. She lived in LA for about 24 years or something like that. So I knew at least I had a place to go when we got out here, or when I got out. My parents and I drove out in my this old Subaru with a little U-Haul, and the U-Haul was in the shape of the ass end of a Corvette. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but they make a U-Haul that actually is the back end, the half back end of a Corvette.
Amazing,
It's
amazing.
the silliest looking thing. Anyway, we drove that out, and once I got here and my parents left, and I was at my sister's place, um, it felt lonely. It felt foreign. It felt daunting. I was relatively new to driving because I'd gone away for high school, for part of high school and college, so I wasn't really driving much. Um, so then to come out here and be thrust into the LA traffic, um, that was scary. I didn't have any friends really here. Most of my classmates were headed to New York or New Jersey or Connecticut or East Coast destinations. Um, so I didn't really know anybody other than my sister, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I had no idea. I didn't have a clear game plan. So yeah, terrifying.
Were you still the sort of sensitive kid that you were growing up when you decided to move to LA? Were you still that person, quite
Yeah.
sensitive, quite introverted?
Well, no, I probably shouldn't mislead. I mean, I am a
Hmm.
sensitive person. I was, and I always will be. I'm also really goofy. I'm also really, people probably think I'm extroverted in most social settings. I'm very competitive. So I have um, lots of qualities that are probably not what you would think of a sensitive person. Um, but yeah, I still am that way. I think that's how I tap into um that's how that helps me tap into songwriting. It helps me interpret a script. I think it helps me be a good performer, is to be empathetic, and um so that side of me has definitely helped with the arts. Um but yeah, I think I answered the question.
Yeah.
I start going on these rants and then I forget where we were.
No, I
So
love it. I love a tangent. This
keep me in
podcast
check,
is
Claire.
no, it's all good. This podcast is all about tangents, so you can talk for as long as you want. There's no
Hmm.
limit. But I was asking that because I always find, I guess, as a lot of my friends are actors and musicians and comedians, there's an extra version to all of us, I guess, because of what we do. And I'd say that very broadly. Some people are just maybe one or the other. I'm thinking about one friend who's an actor, and he's just super exuberant, and that's what he is, and he's great, you know. And we are like
Hmm.
opposites when we go out. He's energized by the room, and I can do the room, but I need to go and
Hmm.
like,
Yeah,
you know, rebuild my energy levels.
totally.
So
Yeah.
I feel like it's a funny thing, you know. People, somebody said to me, it was maybe a couple of years ago, oh, you must love being on stage. You know, you're such an extrovert. You must love being on stage. You must love the attention. And that's been said to me a few
Hmm.
times. And I think people have got that wrong. Why do you think
Mm.
people think that? Because, of course, there's so much more that goes into what you're doing when you're on a stage. But people just think you like being on a stage. It's the last thing that I'm thinking.
Yeah. Hmm. For me, because I primarily work in voiceover, this whole being a public figure or going to do conventions and meeting people, that's just a byproduct of this thing that I've been pursuing for like 14 years. So I I do like to be on stage. I do like attention, sure, and I like to perform, but I'm now sort of in front of people, not because that was the goal. It's because I put so much focus on this one thing for so long, and some of that work has started to transform, and people are now big fans of some of the projects I've been in. Um, so I don't know if people realize that this social media followers or the conventions and the panels, this is not something that I was gunning for. This isn't like I want to be in front of everyone at a panel. I want a Q&A in my name, and I want that's and I want a million followers. That just all came from these other things I was pursuing, and I didn't see it coming. So
Like, notoriety is something that happens to someone, you know, whether that notoriety is good or bad. And it
yeah.
is such a byproduct. It's like, it's when I don't know how you feel about creativity, but wanting to do something creative is something you can't stop. I don't know if you feel that way. Like, it's, if I've done normal jobs. I mean, I've always worked in the edges of the industry, then in the industry, then doing the admin, being a researcher or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, but I've always wanted to make a thing. It's like I don't know what I want to write a thing. I want to like play a
Hmm.
thing. Did you always feel that burning desire as well? Because no matter what I do, I end up doing it anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think so. I actually I think most humans are just like creative by nature. I think we're all sort of wired to want to, more so than others. But I'm just thinking about TikTok and how many random people are putting out content about their cooking or this or that or just all these different topics, and I'm just makes me think that everybody maybe has this feeling about wanting to create. Um, I knew early on I couldn't do like a normal job. I really did. I went to a job fair in college, dressed the part, brought my resume, and was there for 15 minutes. And I called my dad after and I said, "Fuck this. This sucks. Like I'm not kissing ass to go work at a for some hotel chain or Goldman Sachs or something." I was just like, this sucks. Like I can't even imagine. The times that I'm having the most fun and enjoying my life the most are when I'm wrapped up in some project, like a music video or creating some comedy bit for online. Or but I think all those things that I do are for me. And I heard somebody say this, some famous person, but like the best art is always art that you make for yourself, that you like, that makes you laugh, that makes you feel something. And you just do that. You do those things. You work on the things you just really like, and then maybe the byproduct is that it becomes famous or it has a following or people listen to it or they watch it or read it. Um, but yeah, to get back to the original thing, I I can relate. I always there is always a feeling of like wanting to make something.
100%. It's
Yeah.
I think it's more prevalent as I've got older. But I've done normal jobs and God, like I got let go a few times. I've always been kind of fired because I'm not because I'm
Why would
actually
they fire you, Claire?
you know what? I am actually really I can be
Yeah.
a really good worker. Like if I love something, I will, because I like detail and and when I'm into something, I will concentrate real hard.
Yeah.
But when I feel dead inside, I'm like, no. And I almost like self-sabotage it. But the times that I've been let go, three times in my life, and and similar ways, they always said to me, Claire, everybody really likes you here, but we just don't think you're right for this job. So that was like a really nice way of letting someone go. But I've worked in all sorts of boring ass jobs. What about you? What's the most normal sort of maybe 9 to 5 ish sort of job that you've done, and what did you think of it?
Yeah. I worked I worked at a Walmart photo lab. Do you know what Walmart is? You know Walmart, right?
I'm very familiar with Walmart, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I worked at a Walmart photo lab when I was in college. And I also worked as a groundskeeper at a retirement home. So I was like mowing the lawns and pulling weeds. So those were my two really
Oh,
normal jobs.
so okay, if you had to do one of those jobs for the rest of your life, Walmart photo person or
Oh
the groundskeeper
God.
thing, what would it
Oh.
be? You gotta do it for the rest of your life. You gotta love it. What would it be?
Well, I don't love either of those, but if you made me pick one, I'd do the groundskeeping, so it'd be outside.
Okay, that's fair. And it's not Walmart. And it's not Walmart.
Yeah.
Just like you could be like
No,
some kind
no.
of like version of Groundskeeper Willie. That's how I'm imagining it to be. Like super
Yeah.
buff. Like just,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
just
Sure, grow a beard and long hair and
go
yeah.
for it. Become the crazy old guy and like keeps the grounds. God, yeah. I mean I think I've done my first year of nonsense. I guess we're lucky that we haven't had to do all of those different kind of other jobs, but you know, it's if you, for example, couldn't do the voice acting anymore, like just say you can do it, work dries up. Is there something else and
Hmm.
not music? Is there something else creative that you'd like to do though? Like I always think about writing or directing and producing things.
Um, I mean, if I wasn't doing the acting and the voiceover, I'd definitely try to pursue the music a bit more and maybe different facets of that industry. Like maybe it's writing music for commercials or scoring or um, publishing or something like that. I think that would be cool. Now, if I were gonna I just am always been business minded, very entrepreneurial, and I love real estate. So if I
Ah.
weren't gonna do an industry job, I'd probably do something related to either owning a small business or doing some sort of real estate thing.
Oh,
So
interesting. But there's something,
yeah.
I ran a business before it was years and years ago, and there's something really fun when you first start a business. It's
Hmm.
exciting and very scary, and it's really stressful. I don't know. I quite
Yeah.
like high levels of stress. I don't know. It kind of fuels me. Are you quite similar, or do you like to be super chill with everything you do?
Oh no, I definitely put myself under duress. I'll take on a lot and I seem to thrive in those conditions, but it does take a toll.
I don't know what it is about. I talk to so many of my friends who work in creative fields and they bloody love stress. They don't love it in
Yeah,
terms of what it makes your body feel, but I don't know what it is. Like, what is it about stress or why do you put yourself under that pressure when you could just be super chill? What is it about that that you think feeds
think
your
it make
brain?
I think it makes you feel alive. I think it gives you purpose. I think it keeps you from being eyed and having just like these intrusive thoughts because you're just you're like going and you feel purposeful and it's good. You're like, I'm gonna get this done. And you have something to talk about. Like, I'm so tired because I've been working so hard on this thing. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I think those reasons,
Yeah, like
maybe.
somebody said to me, it was a few years back, nobody was inviting me to anything, and I felt left out.
Uh-huh.
And I said to a friend, like, no one ever invites me to stuff anymore. And my friend said, she said to me, it's because you're always busy all the time, so we just
Yeah.
stop.
Well, I worry about that too because I'm gone so much. I travel so much that I'm like I'm gonna lose connection with like everybody I know.
That's the thing, because you become, it's kind of cool. People go, oh, you're always busy. That's great.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there's something I've started to try to imagine what it would be like to be a little bit more zen and a little bit more grounded. It's quite impossible for me sometimes, but there's something quite nice about, I've started to just lie with my cat sometimes, get my projector on and just
hmm
listen to some noises. It's very hard to switch off
hmm
the brain, but do you do
Yeah.
anything like that that just it can take you away, just to chill you out?
I'm terrible at that stuff. I've been recommended meditation a million times. I never do it. I I think my meditation probably is working out. I try to work out pretty frequently and uh I do like class workouts. I belong to like an Orange Theory gym and but it was
Oh,
funny
okay.
because my friend, my bandmate, he's like, come to yoga with me. And I don't really like yoga. It's too slow or whatever. But I also know that I should slow down and I needed to stretch too. I think as you get in your older and older, your body's like, oh, my hips, you know. I'm 36. I don't necessarily look it, hopefully, but I am noticing like I'm tighter every time I work out. So we went to this yoga class, and for like the first 5, 10 minutes, I'm like, ah, I can't, they're all like, focus on your breath and and I'm just like, I don't want to do that.
Like,
You
shut
know,
up.
everybody's going, ah, and doing those tiger breath things or whatever. And I'm just like, this is so stupid. But then after about 10 minutes, I'm sorry, I'm offending all the yogis out there. But after about 10 minutes, I got like sedated and then I succumbed to the yoga ways and I started to calm down and I got into it. So it just takes me, it's like reminds me of being a little kid being told to nap and you're like, I don't want a nap. But then when you finally let it go, you'll, go to sleep.
You're
All to
right.
say that it's hard for me to relax like that, but I can do it. Just takes it's hard.
I used to say the same thing. I still sort of say it when somebody says to me, just meditate, just go to yoga. And I'm like, look, mate, I am lying in bed trying to relax and I'm thinking about the cat litter tray. I'm thinking about my to do list tomorrow. I'm thinking about how am I going to make my rent next month. Just all of these things. But my friend said to me, you've got to let that cycle happen. You're not doing it wrong. That's what
Yeah.
happens. Like, let it come in, because that's what they don't tell you in yoga or meditation. They're just like, you'll just relax, it's just going to be fine. But actually that is part of it. Let the neuroses and the stress wash over you first, and then it's
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
But I
Yeah,
can.
totally. Like
Yeah, go on.
can't, yeah, you just can't jump into it right away. Or not everybody can. It's called a practice, right? So it takes, I guess, a lot of practice to get into that mindset.
Exactly. Like, it's not easy. It's not easy for some people like us, you guys.
No.
I can't bloody do it. I can't just relax. Although I went to a yoga class, it was a woman in my acting class. She teaches yoga, and I've I'm a bit older than you, Griffin, and so these I've been getting, like, stressy chest pains, and I went to yoga. She taught the yoga class, and you know what? 60 minutes, no chest pains, no stress, and that was quite nice. So I am
Yeah.
trying. But you mentioned something about, and this is something I sort of agree with, um, working hard and keeping yourself under duress in a certain way.
hmm
You said something, it helps the intrusive thoughts stay away. Um, and
Yeah.
you're totally right. I was thinking about this. So January and February is always a quiet time for me. It's just always quiet.
Sure,
And I
sure.
have had an array of intrusive thoughts for 2 months. It's horrible. So tell me, what are your intrusive thoughts, Griffin?
I think I've pursued this very independent career for so long. So I'm just like, I think sometimes I'm like, I don't want to just continue living the same way in with the same habits and never change and never grow and never, I don't know. I think I want to become more of a less self-centered person and more giving, and I want to become more, but I think there, there's this like nasty thought of like, oh, you're just going to keep doing the same thing that you've done, and tomorrow you're going to be 50, and then you're going to be 60, and you're just going to be alone. Like that's a nasty that's a nasty thing to think. But that's a good thought too, because it probably is guiding you and telling you like, well, if you don't want those things, you're gonna have to change things. You're gonna have to do something different. I'm hard on myself. I do have the imposter syndrome thing sometimes. I'm like, what business do I have going to a convention with other people that are like on camera talent that are recognizable, their faces are recognizable. Why is a voice actor here? That's weird to me. Like, how am I deserving to be here? That I feel that way often. I'm like, I can't believe people want my autograph. This is crazy.
I know what you mean because all of us, well, not in quite in that way, all of us have experienced imposter syndrome at one time or another, with regardless of what we do in our careers. But just, I would think of it maybe in terms of what you're doing as it's like that when people want to see you, it's like a physical manifestation of what you've done, and all of a sudden you've
Hmm.
touched someone and they've gone bing, I need to go see you and tell you that how much I really
Hmm.
enjoy that, and that, what a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing, and it's real. It's not, but there is part of I discount. I tend to discount all of my achievements, or I make up excuses for like, well, this is this is great and all, but this other thing would actually be a higher echelon, or this would be more coveted. Yeah, I don't know. I can always put a spin on something to make myself think that like, it's not as great as you think it is, kind of deal.
Do you think
Um,
that's almost, we're gonna go deep, Griffin, we're getting in the chair, we're gonna sit in the chair, it's analysis term. But I was gonna ask you, because I know I do that too. I do it because almost like I am not setting myself up for a fall, but it's almost like I'm protecting my own ego from whatever. So I'm quite avoidant. So I run away from things quicker than I'll stay,
yeah,
or I kind of tell myself like, oh well, I'm not really. Why would they want me? Even though I can be quite positive, because I'm like, yeah, because then it'll save me the emotional fallout. That's why I think why I do that. Would you say you're similar, or is there a different reason?
yeah, I do think I'm similar. I think it's protective. I think it is like avoidant behavior in a way. I think if something amazing happens, I tell myself, I literally in my mind say, now this feeling will not last very long, so don't get too excited. And that's kind of sad because this life is so short, and why not enjoy those moments are fleeting. So why not fully enjoy those most exciting moments and really relish them and really celebrate? But I've taught myself to not celebrate more than very briefly, to not feel the full effects because out of protection that it'll be gone soon, or that like preemptively, like this isn't gonna, you're not gonna feel this way. So like, don't get too excited.
But I'll
Yeah.
say this: the fact that you're already thinking about this now, and going, yeah, like maybe this is a little bit of how I am, or thinking about the future. I don't think you're gonna feel like that forever. It might creep in. I think it does. But learning gratitude and just like to enjoy the moment. God, it's the hardest bloody thing. The human brain is really annoying. It's like the most
Yeah.
annoying thing. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I think as long as you're aware of that, I think that's a really good step. You know, if you just keep going on and you think nothing's wrong, then it's fine. But
Hmm.
that's also your brain, Griffin. And there's nothing wrong with your brain. That's how we all think as
Yeah.
humans. You know, we're all weirdos
Right.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So we're all freaks,
I
for God's
agree.
sake. I wanted to ask you, so because we're at the
Yeah.
end of the podcast, I'm doing a new thing this season, this series of this podcast. So the guest that was on before uh, offers tips and advice for the guest that's on now, right? So, having that in mind, think about something you might want to say. I'm not going to tell you who the guest is going forward. Think about what you might want to say to the guest going forward, some tips or advice. But I will tell you this Devra Wild was on before you. She plays
Uh-huh.
Lae'zel in Baldur's Gate 3. And
Okay.
she was the first guest in this series, so she had no advice to receive, but she said, be a hot mess. That's what she said. Be a hot mess. So you can go and be a hot mess, Griffin.
Okay.
What would
All
you
right.
now? I'm not sure who's going to be on after you at this present moment, but um, tell me what tips or advice would you like to give, considering they could be an actor, a musician, or whoever else?
Be your goofiest, most authentic self.
Oh,
Create create your art for you.
I love that. Yeah, that's a good one. Like,
Yeah.
yes. I will let you know afterwards what the person said to that. So, thank you very much, Griffin. Is there anything you'd like to promote? You can do your social media stuff. Go on, where can people find
Oh,
you?
sure. Sure. Let's see. You can find me on TikTok at my Griffin Burns. Same handle for Instagram, my Griffin Burns, and then Twitter is the Griffin Burns. If you're interested in hearing my music, my band is called New Girlfriend, and we are on Spotify and all streaming platforms. And Claire, I wanted to add something because earlier you asked me about what British shows or movies or whatever did I consume as a kid, and I'm a dummy because I watched all the Harry Potters. That was British.
Of course. Yeah.
And I listened to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and all sorts of stuff. So I felt like I really messed that question up badly.
That's
But
okay. You
now that
redeemed
my brain is
yourself.
awake, I've redeemed myself. I didn't just watch Doc Martin. I watched Harry Potter.
Guys, it's okay. It only took him about just under an hour to get the answer
Yeah,
to the question. That's a
there you
record.
go.
That's a
I
record.
know. There you go. I had to set the record straight.
Look, you guys, just discard the last answer. Let's just pretend you heard that one first.
Please,
Griffin,
please.
you've been wonderful. I really appreciate you being on this podcast. It's been such a good talk. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Claire. It's great to see you. And best of luck with everything.
Thank you. I have been Claire. This has been Griffin. This is Hot Pod Time Machine, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.
Hot Time Machine.